What's up, guys? This is Samuel Tankersley bringing you some pretty interesting news, actually, about the upcoming film in the Hellraiser franchise called Hellraiser Judgment. Now, there's been some good news tied with it, like Heather Lamperkampf, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is going to be in it. It's going to be an original script, and while that doesn't sound like a lot, an original script for a Hellraiser film, just written for the film itself, is actually something to be very, very happy about. Just goes through some interesting history of the franchise, and you'll see that about over half the franchise, the scripts for them were other films that they just took and put the Cenobites in. So it's always cool when you see an original script that was written for the series itself. The director said he's going for a more Clive Barkerian feel to it, and that was some more good news. Some bad news was it's going to be direct-to-DVD, in other words, a VOD film, and, well, yes, this was expected. I was kind of hoping this would pull like a Child's Play 7 thing, and they would just put it in theaters for the extra buck. I know that sounds really cheap, but I was hoping for that, but they didn't. Some more bad news was, of course, Doug Bradley is not going to return. That's really sad, because I know for Revelations they treated him like trash. He said that they offered him, his pay was going to be less than what you would, pay for a refrigerator. And I was hoping that since, Hellraiser Judgment is trying to do a lot right, and because they have done a lot right, they've tried to fix a bunch of problems the series has had for a while. And I was hoping one of those would be they bring back Doug Bradley, because he's been Hellraiser for 3 decades now, and in this like 9-film franchise, he's played Pinhead 8 times. I think it's 9 films. I've watched like 8 of them. I've watched every single one but Hellraiser Revelation. And the thought that keeps going through my head is they just pay the man his money. When Robert Englund, he went through all the Nightmare on Elm Street films, regardless of quality, he stuck with the character. And when they took him out, it was the worst reviewed film in the franchise. And while I love Jack Haley's interpretation of Freddy Krueger, fans just did not respond well to it. Now, on that note, the most recent news for Hellraiser Judgment is the man playing Pinhead / Hell Priest. I forgot the actor's name, but he has stated that the release date for Hellraiser Judgment is March 28th, 2017. Now, this, of course, I kind of like this, because any film that's coming out in like January, February, especially on VOD, usually isn't that good. So anything later in the year, which is March through December, is always a good sign, even for films on, direct-to-video. But again, what I really like about it is that March is shaping up to be the best month of 2017. You have Logan, Kong Skull Island, Power Rangers. They're all coming out in March 2017. And while I don't think Power Rangers looks that good, like Ghost in the Shell, Logan, Kong Skull Island, they all look like to be some of the best films of the year. In fact, I think Logan will be the best film of the year. So the fact that Hellraiser Judgment is just being added to this already great month it's like putting chocolate on a chocolate cake that's been covered in icing. When you add something good to something that's already really good, it just makes your anticipation and your feelings towards it that much better, because you already have really just great astigmatism and just great feelings for this month already, and now you have this other film that you had doubts about mixed in with these good feelings. So I'm feeling better about Hellraiser Judgment, if that makes sense to you. So I know it's also coming pretty late in the month, but this is one of my most anticipated films of the year. That's going to sound weird to a lot of you, but the fact is, I like Pinhead. He is probably the only horror icon, and there are 5 major horror icons. Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Leatherface, and Pinhead. Those are the 5 biggest, they are the absolutely most popular horror icons there are. And Pinhead is the only one who scares me. I love Michael Myers. Halloween's my favorite film. He's my favorite icon. But personally, when I see them, he doesn't scare me. Pinhead does. When I first saw Pinhead, he scared me. Just his look, how he acts, what he is, that frightens me. So I've always had a soft spot for the Hellraiser franchise. And the fact is, I really want this one to be good, not because the series has been crap for a while, or at least mediocre for a while, but because I just want that I don't, and it's not most because I want a good Hellraiser film. I'll enjoy them one way or the other. I just want people to respect the franchise again. Like, as someone who respects Pinhead for the really creative, awesome icon he is, it's sad to see that he's become a joke. Like, Hellraiser 1 and 2, they're horror classics. They are scary, creative, just absolutely original. They're beautiful. Not many horror films can say they're beautiful in soundtrack and style, but Hellraiser and Hellbound can. And then after that, the series just, they took a big step down, they fell off a cliff, and they never recovered. Like 3, 4, 5, 6, oh my gosh, there are so many. 4 was the last one to be in theaters, and I think 4 is an okay film. Hellraiser 4, it was a huge step up from 3, which was absolute trash. And while it wasn't perfect, it wasn't the Hellraiser film I wanted. It wasn't in any way an equal or even mediocre successor to the first or second. It was probably the high point in the franchise ever. Like, all the other films to come after 4, they weren't that great. I'm sorry, but that's a fact. They weren't that great. The closest the franchise ever got, again, to being good, or at least mediocre, was, I think, Inferno, or possibly Dead, or I don't know, it's Dead or Hellseeker. Inferno, took an original idea, pretty cool, it had horrible, like, absolutely awful execution, some really bad actors, but it did have a pretty good idea. Now, then there was Hellseeker. Hellseeker, you know, it bait and tackle, promised us more of Christy. Again, Christy's my favorite final girl, so I was super excited, but then she's only in the film for like 10 minutes, and they focus on this cheating husband, who, and I don't like the fact that the Hellraiser franchise turned into just you follow these awful people who get awful ends. You know, I get it with Frank. You follow Frank for a portion of the film, but he's not the main antagonist. He is the main antagonist, but he's one of a couple. And he's not the main protagonist. You don't follow Frank in the original film. You don't follow, I forgot her name, but Frank's wife and the evil doctor in Hellbound. You follow Christy, because Christy's one of the most likable, most easily rooted for final girl I have ever seen. She is just so charismatic. She's nice. You're on board her story immediately, because at one point or another in your life, you've had a father figure. You've had someone you care for, and she's that. You can relate to what she's trying to do. And these later films, they miss the message. It's not the fact that you're following a bad guy who you don't like, and then you like it when he gets that awful end, or because his character's so complex. It's because you get to see his contrast between the hero and the villain. When you get the right amount of villain, you make a good film. Like Skyfall, it didn't solely focus on what was Slavia, whatever his name was. It didn't focus on him entirely. It focuses on James Bond. You have an equal amount of good and bad, probably a lot less bad, because the less you see of him, the more you want of him. But when you get the whole film as this crappy guy being a jerk, you know, it just loses its value. You just end up not liking him, and you don't care about his struggles or his immediate end. And while, yes, the ending and the revelations about and Inferno were cool, they lost their punch because you didn't care for the main character. He was a sleazebag. You couldn't connect to someone who tried their very hardest to push you away. So I hope this new film, they recognize that problem, and I really hope them bringing Nancy in is something of them trying to recognize that. But guys, just comment below what you think of this this news that it's coming out March 28th. What you think of the film as a whole, if you think it's going to be good or if it's going to be bad. Of course, I'm just here to listen. Comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe.